Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? Hope you're well. So, what's going on? Martin Luther King Day, Trump Inauguration Day, Ohio State Notre Dame Day. It's a busy day. So, I'm off. I don't work. They're closed, which is fine. Um, I would work because I don't get paid for it. And the holiday doesn't mean much to me. It's just not that you don't admire Martin Luther King. You do, but what am I going to do? I don't do anything for him. So I'll go to the pool after this, maybe get ribs, enjoy my day, back to work tomorrow. So, anyway, let's take a look at what is gold doing. Gold's open. I keep expecting something to happen around the inauguration. Gold's 27.08 up $4, and silver's $30.42 up 2 cents. So nothing's happening there. Again, I had a real good video on the Wizard of Oz, the explanation of the characters by the writer, and I will replay that. I did 2 hours yesterday, but when I go into it, it got interrupted by the internet. And so it was only 54 minutes. So I think it covered the football because I did that first, but it didn't cover some of the stoic stuff and then some of the Wizard of Oz. It's a 20-minute video, unfortunately. So we will redo that. Again, let's talk football. So first we go with, let's recap the weekend. Kansas City wins 23-14. I basically played the home teams. They're the higher seed, and they normally win probably 90% of the time. But I don't just play them because they're the whole teams. So I had Kansas City. I said, there's no way Stroud's beating them. My score was 23-10. They won 23-14. Not fucking bad. I played the game under, and I played KC. And what happened this weekend, I first look at it and I go, no, there's an under game. But as I studied it more, I said, well, wait a minute. They're not going to score. Kansas City's not losing this game to Houston, right? Houston doesn't have the team that's going to come in and beat them. And this is playoffs, and they're trying to three-peat. And KC methodically beat them. Houston, good defense. That's why I played the under. KC's got a very good defense. In game 2, Detroit, 9.5, I thought was high. I played it at 8.5 to keep it under 3, figuring Detroit would win the game, but Washington could come from behind and make it close. And the over-under was 55.5. So I initially played Detroit minus 2.5. And as I looked at it, I said, no, this is over. So I also played the over. So this is an unusual week where I played the team and the total. Usually I try to pick one or the other. And Washington wins 45-31. I had Detroit winning 37-23. I knew it would be high scoring. Detroit didn't show up. Goff choked like he usually does. He had a fumble at the 10-yard line, threw an interception in the end zone, threw another interception for a pick six. What was he thinking? So it goes to show you, when I call these quarterbacks chokes, aka Lamar, it's because they are. They never won a big game, right? Lamar's never won a big game in the pros. He'll win a regular season game where he beat Buffalo in week 4, but that's not really a big game. You know, it's a good team, it's a good game, but a big game is a playoff game. And he's never won a big playoff game. He wins the first round against Houston, or this year it was against Pittsburgh, who was really no offense, terrible offensive coordinator. Russell Wilson was good, but that was all they had. And they win that game, but that wasn't a real big game. They're at home against an inferior team. Here, going to Buffalo, KC at home, those are big games. He'll never win it. He had 3 turnovers there also. So the chokes, the reason they choke is because they turn the ball over. They don't win the game, and it's their fault. The fumble by Goff, and then the pick six, and the pick in the end zone. What is that? This is a playoff game. You can't afford that. If he does none of them, they win the game, because you take 7 away because there was a pick six. It's 38. We got 31. If he doesn't fumble at the 10, it's at least a field goal. And then the touchdown in the end zone, that was intercepted by Sensterall. The guy was wide open. He underthrew him. So that gets you 38. That gets you 41-38. So they win if he doesn't throw the pick six and the turnovers. I don't know what they're calling when they had Williams throw the ball to the running back. What was that? That was stupid. Williams isn't a quarterback. He can't read a defense. That has no chance of as soon as Sensatrall, the Michigan guy, was on the running back, the ball should be thrown away. He's not open. And why are you taking the ball out of the hands of Goff? I don't mind the reverse, and they probably should have ran that a couple times. That's the other thing. When you run a play like the reverse and it scores a touchdown, why aren't you running it 5-6 times in the game? Just because you know it'll work, and they got to be sensitive to it, and if they're even paying attention to it. So that's what I see. So what would I take out of that? KC, still KC, very strong defense. Mahomes is Mahomes. Kelsey gets wide open. I don't know why they play a zone against them, but they got to play more of a man. I mean, if you play zone, Kelsey will just stop and wide open, and, you know, you have no chance of winning. Defense was very good. Mahomes was very good. Pacheco played. Hunt played. They scored in the red zone. KC will be tough to beat. Washington, Detroit. What did we learn? Detroit, Goff's a choke. We also learned that Washington, decent defense, but not there yet. That's still their Achilles. And we see Detroit, their defense is terrible. I wouldn't hire this Aaron Glenn. You got to be kidding me. What makes you want to hire this guy as your head coach? I wouldn't hire him as a defensive coordinator. I told you to fire him last year. They just got lucky that they played weak teams, and then beating Minnesota was basically blitzing. I wanted to say Cousins, basically blitzing Darnold, who was the same as Cousins. It wasn't a big feat. Yes, give him credit for figuring out the blitz Darnold, but that was it. So I'm not sure. They did give up 42 to Buffalo, and here's Washington, and Daniels looks like it's Mahomes, it's Burrow, it's Daniels, and then Penix is coming up from the rear. Josh Allen, he's the next stop. Lamar, Goff, they're like 15, 20. So Detroit again scores a lot, gives up a lot. Their defense is their Achilles. They'll never win with this defense. And Washington, they can't keep outscoring you, but They're a very live dog, I think. The Rams in Philly. The Rams showed me I had Philly even. That was the winner. I knew they were going to win at home in the cold weather. I don't know if it bothered Stafford, but it didn't help them. And I had the game under 50, and it was a push. It was 44. I went under 50. It was a 50. We got a break. Philly's kicker missed the extra point at the end. And the ease that the Rams came down and scored, they stopped blitzing. And notice the difference between when they had the 2-touchdown lead, they let the Rams just score. And then with the 1-touchdown lead, they didn't let the Rams score. They blitzed them and sacked them and everything. So Philly's defense can be had, as you see. I thought it was great. I was shocked the Rams got 22 on them. Philly had difficulty scoring. They kicked a lot of field goals. So anyway, 28-22. I did have Philly. I knew they'd win. The Rams aren't going on the road, and Houston's not going on the road and winning these games. It's maybe regular season, but not in the playoffs. In our last game, we had one of our students ask about, should I take Baltimore? And I said, no, hell no. I told him to take Buffalo. It's on the video yesterday. And Buffalo at home is great. They score. I played this game over in 2 teasers. And I played Buffalo as a home dog. So again, as I'm thinking, my first reaction is an over. Baltimore's defense is weak. Buffalo will score. They score 30 at home normally. They got 27. And I said, there's no way they're shutting out. There's not going to be 35-10 again. So I know Buffalo is going to score. And then Baltimore, they're both going to score. So the over was easy, 45.5. And I got it near the end. They kicked a field goal to go up 27-19. And that was 46. That was a W with about 3-4 minutes left. But you could see the drive. Buffalo was down to the 20, down to the 10. They're going to kick a field goal. They almost didn't. It was 4th and 2, and I'm going, no, kick your field goal. You had to because they were only up 24-19. If they would have went for it and not made it, Baltimore would have won the game. So it was really immaterial. Lamar at the end, okay, had a good pass, but basically, where was he? Oh, yeah, he was fumbling twice and turning the ball over on a couple more interceptions. Again, he doesn't seem to be all there. I never get the fact that he looks like he knows what he's doing. He just seems to have a weird look to him. So Buffalo wins 27-25, a live dog, and the over was a joke. So I look at the game first. Where do I want to go with it? And I go, it's going to be high scoring. But then I looked at the spread and I go, Baltimore's favored in Buffalo. I had Buffalo as a 3-point favorite, and that's what it should have been. And then I would have taken Baltimore 9. But in this case, this is why you tease the dog. The teaser plus 7.5, never in jeopardy. 21-10 lead at half. I got 28.5, and that was really it. They didn't even score 28.5. So you've got to know when to take the dog. And Buffalo is a home dog, and you got to realize home dogs in the playoffs win almost every time. So that was an easy one, 27.5. Now let's go to next week. We've got real quickly, Ohio State 8.5, 45.5 tonight. But let's go to the pros. That's been out there for a week. All right, we've got Philadelphia 5.5, 47.5 against Washington in Philadelphia. We'll check weather middle of the week. We've got Kansas City 1.5, 48 to Buffalo. We'll check injuries a little later in the week. I didn't see any terrible injuries, but we'll check those. I mean, my first look at Philadelphia, Washington is about the livest dog I've ever seen. They're a liver dog, which means they're very good to bet than Buffalo is. No question. So Washington 11.5, it's a no-brainer. They beat Philadelphia a few weeks ago, so now they've beat Philadelphia and Philly, took care of Atlanta, won to Tampa and went to Detroit, and I told you if they win, they're going to win the Super Bowl, and I firmly believe that. They're not going to stop Daniels. Detroit tried to blitz them. It ain't happening. And they've already played them twice, so they're not afraid of them. And they put up a 30, I think they beat them 36-35 or 38-36 with 5 turnovers, which she's not going to do this time. The weather shouldn't be a factor. They're in Washington, so Philly. I think the weather hurt the Rams, and they still played okay. I mean, it's not like they just couldn't do anything. So I think automatically Washington 11.5 is your first pick. Now, do we go totals? Well, let's see. Washington's a B team with a 23 defense. So they're actually probably an over team because they're going to score a ton. But their defense, as I say, is not that good. They did get the from Goff, and he fumbled at the 10. But that's more that Goff choked than their defense really came up because the interception in the end zone, Goff wasn't really pressured. The pick six was a terrible throw. He threw over the guy's head, and he had a receiver. He had the tight end like 7 yards down the field wide open, and he throws 15 yards to St. Thomas over his head. So I don't think the rush really made Goff choke. I think Goff choked because Goff's a choke. So I think Daniels will have no problem. Again, a B team with a 23 defense. Philly's an A team with an 18 defense. They gave up 22 to the Rams. That fits. They gave up 10 to Green Bay. But Washington is not like those teams. Daniel is unique. Daniels is like Mahomes. He's like Burrow, except Mahomes is very hard to bring down, right? He moves and jives and, zigzags, very hard to tackle. And that's what you have in Daniels. And they're both – the difference between Daniels and Lamar and why I don't like running quarterbacks is because Lamar runs, and I saw that in the other game with C.J. Stroud. He does more running than throwing. When they needed a completion, what is C.J. Stroud? He wants to run. If you notice, he goes back and then he runs for 10 yards. And I say, as soon as I see that, they're in trouble. Do you see Mahomes do that? Very, very, very little. Very, very little. 3rd and 6, and he sees it, he'll take it. But very, very rarely does Mahomes take off and run. Burrows, very, very rarely. Aaron Rodgers, very, very rarely. Brady, Montana, very rarely. All the great ones, Marino, never. He was too slow. They stay in the pocket and they hit the receiver. That's what a quarterback's supposed to do. Lamar doesn't do that. He wants to run. He wants to get out and run. And CJ Stroud. That's why I don't like those two. And let's see. Bo Nix runs a little bit. Josh Allen runs a little bit, but they play mostly in the pocket. Hurts does tend to want to run. And Baker doesn't, and Darnold and Stafford. Stafford doesn't run. So all the really good quarterbacks stay in the pocket. They move around, and they're looking, but they're trying to pass the ball. Right? That's their thing. They're trying to pass the ball. And that's what Lamar doesn't do. However, Daniels, yes, he slides and moves, and he throws these ball. He finds these guys wide open. I mean, it's just unbelievable. All of a sudden, 20 yards down the field, he throws, the tight end's wide open. I mean, wide open. Where the crossing pattern's wide open. I mean, he throws to the guy, and the guy, it hits him right in the chest. He keeps running, and he sees the field. He sees the blitz. The Lions tried blitzing him on this side, and he ran this side. He saw it. The guy's coming, unblocked, and he goes out the other side. That's what I mean by reading the blitz. Like C.J. Stroud, Caleb, Cousins, these guys don't know how to read a blitz. So in other words, they don't know when it's coming. Lamar. So the blitz comes, and they're clueless that the blitz is coming. Caleb especially. Prime Junior is going to have that problem. So in other words, oh, you're going to blitz me, and I got to get out. I got to counter that. I got to art of war it. But Daniels sees it coming. What does Daniels do? He gets the ball, knows the blitz is coming from that side, runs the other way. Or in the first quarter, he had 3 wide receivers left, and the Lions inexplicably blitzed from that side instead of the other side. And Daniels takes one step and fires it to McClellan with 2 receivers against one, and the guy goes 80 yards for a touchdown. He saw the blitz coming, and he knew what the hot route is, and he got it to him, and the guy scores. That's the difference between Daniels and Penix and Bo Nix and Lamar and Stroud and Caleb and Trevor Lawrence and all these idiots, Daniel Jones, the Cousins, Darnold. They can't read that. They don't know it's coming. They don't know how to read it. Even Josh Allen's kind of weak at it. He may be getting a little bit better, but that's been his problem. So if you blitz these guys, they don't understand it. Hey, David, good morning. So this is what I mean by it. That's the actual Daniels gets it. He sees the blitz. He throws the ball away or he runs away. Doesn't get sacked very often. And he knows where to get rid of the ball. That's the beauty of Daniels. That's the beauty of Penix. Penix will do the same thing. And then you got Caleb, so you're a Chicago Bears fan, and you had the one pick, and you could have had Daniels. How do you feel today? You could have been in this championship game, because if you have Daniels instead of Caleb, you had the receivers, you had the defense. You're going to the NFC Championship game if you would have just taken Daniels instead of Caleb. If you would have just had a GM who didn't have his head up his ass, who picked the popular pick, instead of the better pick. We all knew Daniels was a superstar. Let's go back to my draft analysis. 3 quarterbacks, Penix, Daniels, and Nix. I tell you, Caleb's going to suck because of the Notre Dame game, because of the UCLA game, because of the Oregon game. Caleb didn't show up. But when you see Daniels and you go, well, fuck, Daniels, Alabama and Georgia did very well. He did well against Alabama, all right? That's not easy to do. And then you see Penix, he lit up Oregon with that great defense twice, and he beat Texas last year. So you knew he was going to be good. What did Caleb win? Nothing. He didn't beat a good team last year, the year before when he got drafted. And that's what you've got to be looking at. And this is what I don't understand. These GMs and the scouts don't get it. They cannot think fifth dimensionally the way I can. And you got to read it. You've got to understand it's not about it's about the heart and the soul and the passion and his intelligence. That's why these scouting combines are a waste of time. So Indianapolis takes Anthony Richardson because he looks like an athlete at the combine. Yeah, how's that going? Was he a good quarterback at Florida? No. He ran a lot, but that's not going to work in the NFL, as we can see. So that's really what you got to see. So again, Washington 11.5. I mean, that's crazy. The over 47.5, you think that's 41. We know Washington is going to get 30 points because they did it the first game. We know Philly is going to panic because their defense is not going to get the Daniels, and they're going to run Barkley, who always has this one long run at the end of the game. Barkley can score. Washington's defense is not that good, but Penix makes Philly's defense look like a high school team, even though it's a very good defense. So this is a plus 11.5. That's your first pick. And your second pick's got to be over 41, which is 24-20. I guarantee Penix for 30. You're almost there with Penix or with Daniels. I keep calling him Penix. With Daniels. So this game's a piece of cake. Now we got to check the weather. Does it really matter? We'll see the weather, but do you think snow is going to stop Daniels? Didn't stop Barkley yesterday. Didn't stop Stafford yesterday. So that's not a problem. And notice the Buffalo Baltimore game was 5 below zero. And notice 27-25. They just got 52 on it, which goes to tell you that it's not the cold that bothers you. Buffalo looked fine. He was throwing the ball fine. They were catching the ball fine. I never looked at anybody as being cold. Never crossed my mind. You kind of forgot the temperature. You didn't really know it was 5 below out. You go, oh, well, yeah. You could have thought it was 30 degrees. They're throwing the ball and catching it. They're doing some more running in the second half, but I thought Buffalo was going to screw themselves. They were getting very conservative in the third quarter. But at the end of the day, we got our over and Buffalo won. But it just shows you if you've got good offenses, the weather really isn't an issue. Now we go Buffalo, KC. Well, it will be cold there. We got 2 A teams, Buffalo with a 22 defense. Baltimore put 25 up on it. Kansas City with an 18 defense, and Houston put up 14 on it. But Josh Allen's a little bit better than C.J. Stroud, obviously. Josh Allen, the way he runs, they're going to score. Mahomes, is going to score. Buffalo, okay defense. It's not great. It's okay. And Mahomes will pick it apart with Kelsey because if you're playing, you got to play them at least like in college basketball, a box and one. So you can play zone, but you got to put your safety on Kelsey. Leave him on Kelsey. I don't understand how he gets wide open. Like, what are you thinking on defense? He's the one guy you've got to take away. This is what I show you in the Art of War video. I think that one worked. The Wizard of Oz, I'm going to show you. It's 20 minutes. You'll love it. So Art of War is, your strengths and defenses and weaknesses. And your strength goes to their weakness. And it's a lot about camouflage and misdirection. That's the Art of War. So why aren't you guarding Kelsey? He's their strength. You've got to find your strength on defense, your safety, Hamlin or whoever, and just stick them on Kelsey and not let Kelsey get wide open. Let Mahomes go to somebody else. So this is the problem. So what do I see? Maybe KC wins. Buffalo could win. KC at home with Mahomes, I think. The difference is, even if it's close, at the end of the game, Mahomes gets you the W. Josh Allen doesn't. He's had problems finishing off KC. They've had it. I do believe there will be points, and I don't care what the temperature is, as long as it's not 20-mile-an-hour winds. Over under a 48. So KC 1.5, 48. Should be a close game. So you can take Buffalo in 7.5. Not quite sure you couldn't take Kansas City in 4.5 at home. They're not going to get blown out. Be a close game. Be in the 20s. That puts it in the 40s. You got 48. I think you go over 42 because Buffalo will score on you, but their defense is not as good as Kansas City's. So that's where you give the edge to Kansas City, probably winning the game with their defense and Spagnolia versus Buffalo. Not really the defense. It's a decent defense. It's not in Kansas City's league or Philadelphia's. So I think Buffalo's a live dog, and I think it's definitely an over 42. Now, I normally like playing Kansas City under. Denver, San Diego, those are good under teams because they also have good defenses. But in this case with Josh Allen, they're going to score on Kansas City, and it's going to lead to this back and forth. I need to score. You need to score. Buffalo knows they need to score because they know Mahomes will win the game at the end. So they got to keep scoring. Now, maybe they do what they did yesterday where they have the lead and then they try to milk it by running a lot, which almost backfired on them. But that's what you have. So it's Mahomes at home. However, Josh Allen can beat him. They beat him 29-20, I believe. That was my lock. I had Mahomes in 8.5 in Buffalo, and they lost by 9. But I think it was 29-20. So it was a 49. So this is definitely going to go over because Buffalo is a high-scoring team. KC will stop a little bit, but I think both teams know they need to score. That, when they played Houston, KC's mindset is we don't need much. We just need to get the lead and then milk it because we're not worried about C.J. Stroud. Well, I guarantee you they're worried about Josh Allen. And Baltimore has a decent defense, but I never thought it was that good this year. And you can see he had guys wide open. Baltimore's secondary was bad. And so I see KC. I see it being a field goal game. And so you can tease the dog, you're fine, and go over, you're fine. Will KC win? At the end of the day, I'm not sure yet. I gotta like feel it. I feel Buffalo will play them well, but I don't know if I feel Washington will win for sure with the 11, but I'm not sure about can Buffalo beat KC and KC. The only one that's done that has been Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. And Allen's no Joe Burrow. He runs more. But Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. And I don't believe Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow because he has Chase on his team. I believe he's smart enough to get Chase the ball, but he gets the ball to T. Higgins also. Joe Burrow he's the best. Well, him and Mahomes. Now you got Daniels and Penix joining the party, which is good. We want quarterbacks to bet on. This is why we don't bet on Lamar, because we can't trust him or Cousins or now Darnold. Were really they won a lot of close games that they shouldn't have been close. Arizona and the Jets, and so I think you look at this and you see a team in Washington and Daniels who blew out Detroit. I mean, they blew them out, right? 45-31. Wasn't close. Darnold would have been a field goal at the end. That's the difference between a good quarterback and a great one. Mahomes handled KC 23-14. You weren't really sweating. They drove down and got the late field goal, I think, to go up 9, and that was it. Yeah, I think it was 20-12, and they go 23-12. So now it's 11, and now we won. And he nails the game away, right? That's the difference between a winner and what I call a choker. So Lamar chokes again. Harbaugh, I don't like. I liked Henry. I don't think Baltimore has the right personnel and runs the right system. I would not have Lamar as my quarterback because I'd get tired of losing in the playoffs with Lamar, and I'd get tired of his 3-4 turnovers in big games. Right? He fumbled twice and a pick. And I know he's going to do it, and he does it every time, and they never win a big game. I think you got to move on. I would I would have traded Lamar, and now it's really hard because there's no. Last year, I would have done it for Daniels, or I would have done it for Penix. This year, the draft is kind of thin, right? So I wouldn't do it. But then you're stuck with Lamar again for another year. So he's good against the weak teams because they don't know how to stop him because he runs. I mean, it's not that hard to stop him. Just blitz him. Look at the first drive. Buffalo let him run down the field. They didn't blitz him. After that, he didn't do anything else in the first quarter, first half, because Buffalo blitzed him every play. That's what you do to these runners. Stroud, the KC blitzed, he didn't do anything. Caleb, you blitzed, he doesn't do anything. Most of these quarterbacks just don't get it. And you blitz them and they're dead. It's very simple. You watch tonight's game, Notre Dame, Ohio State. I got Ohio State 20-17. Definitely an under game. Hard to not take Notre Dame in 14.5. I think that's absolutely crazy. They played a good Penn State team, not a great Penn State, a decent team, and they beat them. And when they needed to score, they will. The game beating Georgia was just a miracle. It was a kickoff return and a strip sack at the 5. Otherwise, they didn't do anything against Georgia, and I don't see them doing a lot tonight. The play tonight's under. So I might play another one tonight, taking the under with Philly, with the Philly-Washington, taking Washington 11.5. As we get down, we only had 4 games yesterday. So I doubled up my teasers, and Philly even and under, and Kansas City under, and Buffalo over. And normally I try not to do that during the year. I try to pick the best way, and I probably would have had Buffalo over would have been my lock, and probably wouldn't have played Buffalo in 7.5. But there's limited choices here, so I'm playing. But I only play it if it makes sense. So Notre Dame, Ohio State under with Washington 11.5 makes perfect sense. The over would make sense, but I think Washington 11.5 makes more sense. As I said, Washington, you go into Detroit in that crazy environment, and and you win and you blow them out and they can't stop you. Nah, they're not losing. They're not going to lose to Philly, and I think they'll beat KC in the Super Bowl because I don't think anybody can handle Daniels. Now, we keep in mind Detroit had a lot of injuries on defense. Okay, but Philadelphia, they beat 36-35 or whatever a couple weeks ago. That's Philadelphia. Nobody scored points on Philly. Daniels did. Even with 5 turnovers, he did. And so Washington's defense is getting a little better, but I don't know how you can beat Daniels if Philly can't. Their defense is better than Kansas City's. Daniels will score points in the Super Bowl, and it's up to Mahomes. Can Mahomes keep up? Now, that'll be a very high-scoring Super Bowl. If it's anywhere in the 40s, it's a lock over because they're not going to stop Daniels. And Washington's defense is okay, but not great, and this will be very high-scoring. Washington is an over team, really, because they can score and you can't stop them, as was Detroit, was a very high-scoring team with no defense. And so this is why you have to understand the teams. And that's why I rank the teams A, Z, over, under, right? So Washington's really an over. Philly's really an A. They got a good offense and a good defense. And Buffalo's really an over team. They score a lot. Their defense is okay. And then Kansas City is an A team because they can score with Mahomes, and they have a very good defense with Spagnuolo. But as you see, Houston put up 14, so there's really not much there. But that was probably the weakest team in the playoffs was Houston. So they got their home win, and then they play a real team. And that's it. I'm surprised San Diego played as bad as they did, and Herbert choked. But this is where you see, this is why I tell you these guys choke, is because when the pressure's on, it's a big game. Darnold doesn't show up. Lamar doesn't show up. But Daniel shows up. Goff doesn't show up. The Lions, it's funny because they're all like excited and they're all like, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. And I hear on the radio, well, I wouldn't go to this game. I'd go to the championship game and I'd buy the tickets and sell them. And how they're going to the Super Bowl and how they want to buy tickets for the Super Bowl. And I'm laughing my ass off. And I did not think they could beat Philadelphia, to tell you the truth. They're not. They've got a choke quarterback in Goff. Why do you think the Rams traded him? Because he's not good. He played in college at Cal, and they played Utah for the Pac-10 championship. He threw 5 interceptions in that game, and Utah killed him. He goes to the Rams. I couldn't understand why he was the one pick, and he chokes. They choke in the playoffs. Then they get to the Super Bowl, mostly because Todd Gurley's running the ball. He didn't do anything. And they 13-3 against New England. He couldn't figure them out. A couple of interceptions again. He doesn't show up in a big game. And mostly it was Gurley that got him to the Super Bowl. So then they get him, and he's terrible. He loses the big games. So they get rid of him for Stafford, who wins the Super Bowl. And then now he's at Detroit, loses big games. It was really like 2 years ago, they didn't play anybody. They played all these good teams the first 7-8 weeks, and they lost. They were like 1-7. And then they played the real weak teams. The NFL is getting terrible. The teams are so bad, mostly because the coaches are bad and the GMs are terrible. And the owners get too involved. And then they win, but the one game they needed to make the playoffs against Carolina, he doesn't show up. Oh, again, a choke. Then last year we saw, okay, they didn't beat a good team. They played Baltimore, lost 38-0, lost to Dallas, so the good teams he lost to. He beats the bad teams. And then you get in the playoffs and he beats the Rams, luckily. And then he gets Tampa, who was very weak last year, because Philadelphia didn't show up. And so he beats a weak Tampa team, and then he goes to the Niners and he chokes. He has a big lead and he chokes in the second half. And again, they don't win. And now here you go. They don't even win a playoff game. You got the number 1 seed, you're at home, and you choke this game. Your 3 interceptions and your fumble cost the game because you needed to keep scoring with Daniels. Your defense sucks. Your defensive coordinator needs to be fired. If you're another team and you get this guy, forget about it. This guy cannot be a head coach. He can't be a defensive coordinator. Yes, Detroit had injuries. I understand that. I thought the draft of this Arnold number 0 was terrible. I don't know why he keeps drafting Alabama guys because they're not good pros, very rarely. Devontae Smith was great in college. He doesn't do anything for Philly. They need a big play. They go to A.J. Brown or they go to Barkley. Williams is fast, big fucking deal. And then the running back's okay. He's playing well. I'll give him credit on the running back from Alabama, but I didn't see him in college. That I think he was hurt. He doesn't draft Georgia guys, which is a big problem, or LSU guys, which is a huge problem. Those are the pros, right? So I don't know, but Detroit with Goff will never do anything. He's not a winner. He's a choke. You get him in a big game, he's going to choke. The Niners, and now here against Washington, and they got their ass kicked. I mean, it wasn't even close, 45-31. So, again, who you want to bet on? And so you learn. I'm asked, do I want to bet Baltimore? And I go, they're a road favorite in a playoff game? Hell no. We don't trust Lamar, and Lamar showed us that we don't trust him, and we won money taking Josh Allen, who we trust a little bit more, but they were at home. So we do trust Mahomes. We do trust Daniels. We don't trust Hurts. We don't trust Lamar. And so you go down the list. We trust Mahomes. We trust Joe Burrow. We trust Daniels. We trust Penix. But we don't We don't. Stafford looked good. We don't really trust Hurts, but we Barkley, and that's really what you got. So I look at quarterbacks. Can I bet on them? I don't give a shit what they look like. Can I bet on them? Do they win the games for me? And there you go. Lamar loses another playoff game. Lamar is a terrible joke. He shouldn't be your quarterback. He's not a good quarterback. He runs so they don't blitz him, but he can't. He's terrible quarterback. Okay, he had a good pass at the end for the touchdown. After fumbling the ball twice and throwing an interception on plays because he's dicking around, running around, he doesn't keep hold of the ball. That's the problem. So he loses you the game there. So how many years are you going to go losing with Lamar? And they keep calling him the MVP of the league. He's far from the MVP of the league. He's not the MVP on his team. Derrick Henry's the MVP on that team. But the MVP in the league should be Daniels. It is hands down. It's not even close. Daniels is the best player in the league. Then you got Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Now you got Penix coming up. That's it. You got Barkley, who's good, Henry, who's good. Those guys should be up for it. Where do you get Lamar as the best player in the league? If I'm starting a team now, I have any player, it's Daniels. And then it's Penix because they're young, or obviously Mahomes and Burrow. I don't forget those guys. Lamar's not on my radar. I do not want to start a team with Lamar as my quarterback because I know I'm not going to win with him, and I want to win. All right, so that's football. I'll give you scores after we look at the weather and the injuries in a few days. Washington, I think, put it this way, would you take Philadelphia even? Not a chance. Not after the Rams made them very uncomfortable. Stafford just lit them up. Now, they blitz Stafford a lot, but Stafford doesn't run. You do that to Penix, and you'll never tackle him because he'll like when Jalen Carter breaks loose, he's going to get a bunch of air. He's not going to get Daniel. Stafford just sits there, and he got sacked 7-8 times. You're not going to sack Daniel 7-8 times, or Penix for that matter. So I don't trust Philly even because I don't trust Jalen Hurts. I don't trust the coach. I do trust Barkley. I do like their defense. But at the end of the day, I'll take Daniels in the points all day. Thank you very much. And I do trust him. And that's really what it is. Who are you willing to bet on? Are you willing to bet on Hurts? No fucking way. Now, the other game where you got really a decision. Do we trust Josh Allen? We trust Mahomes. Yes. He wins the big games. Even if the game's close at the end, he'll find a way to hit Kelsey and find a way to run and find a way to win the game. And that's really what it is. Again, their favorite here. Last year, we took him. He was a dog in 3 games, and we bet him and won all 3 games because they're not going to lose by a lot if they lose. In this situation, I think Buffalo, we'll see where the line goes. Buffalo in 7.5, I think, is good. I think KC wins by a field goal. It's going to come down to a field goal at the end, so you can take the points. And I think you got to take the over. I don't think there's any other way to play it. Now, we keep an eye on it. If this spread goes to Buffalo 1, it's a lock Kansas City. Again, you cannot be a home dog. You cannot make Mahomes a home dog in a playoff game. Forget about it. You're going to lose. Just like it yesterday with Lamar. You made Allen a home dog in Buffalo. There was no way they were going to lose. All right. So that's football. Tonight, like I said, Ohio State 20, Notre Dame 17. Not a lot. We're looking at the defenses. All right. Gold we've looked at. Let's just check it now. Uh, 27.08 and 30.47. Okay, so silver's not. Now keep in mind, I'm going to get to the Wizard of Oz, which will perfectly explain gold to you. I was pissed that I did it, and yet I was pissed because I did it and I explained it perfectly. And then I see I only did the first 54 minutes. Like now I go into Stoic or Wizard of Oz or economics. And so it's like part two. And you're like, what the fuck? It didn't come out. So we are going right to the Wizard of Oz. So this is an excellent The Wicked Truth of the Wizard of Oz and Why It Matters, not the story you think. So I'm a Wizard of Oz fan because I know it's about gold. That's what the Oz is. It's a gold, not whatever. Oz is the city. But they get into the characters and why the writer chose the characters and what's the real meaning behind the characters. And this is fabulous. This is 26 minutes. And highly recommend it. I'll pause it so a couple times just to talk about certain characters or certain things because there's some really good concepts that he talks about, like the reality of what's going on, and it's perfect. All right, so without further ado,
Dorothy, the Wicked Witches, Toto, the Yellow Brick Road. We all know the story, right? Well, think again. What Hollywood showed you is only part of the picture. The world of Oz is far darker than you've ever imagined. Behind the magic of Oz lies a chilling reality. Imagine a man cursed to cut off his own limbs, piece by piece. A wizard who ruled through manipulation and control, using fear and deception to hold the masses in his grip.
sounds like Joe
And
Biden.
Dorothy? She wasn't just a fictional character. She was real. And she wasn't the only one. The story of Oz isn't just a fairy tale. It's deeply rooted in history, dark history that will change everything you thought you knew about the land beyond the rainbow. Some connections are not just fantastical, they're eerily relatable to the world we live in today. Get ready to uncover the dark secrets of Oz. This journey will alter how you view the world of Oz forever.
If you're sharing a hotel
Fucking commercials.
you're also sharing.
They ruin your concentration.
Before The Wizard of Oz, L. Frank Baum explored a variety of ventures. He opened a general store, but unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable. He launched a newspaper, but struggled to stay afloat. He even tried to be a traveling salesman, though it wasn't the perfect fit for his talents. By 1899, after numerous ventures that didn't pan out as hoped, Baum was searching for the breakthrough that would finally match his skill set. So, instead of chasing another doomed venture, he reached deep into his imagination, creating what would go on to become one of the most successful stories in history. Back in the 1890s, scarecrows weren't just farm props. They were symbols used in political cartoons to represent farmers, specifically farmers who were seen as helpless, clueless, and easily manipulated. During this era, farmers were drowning in debt thanks to the fallout of the financial crisis. Crops were failing, debts were rising, and the government was not on their side. The banking elite, wealthy financiers, had the power, and farmers were seen as pawns in a much bigger game. Farmers were depicted as brainless puppets with no control over their own fate. In The Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow is convinced he's the dumb one of the group. He spends the whole story thinking he's not smart enough, not good enough, not worthy enough. That's because this isn't just about a fictional scarecrow. This is about something much bigger. This is about ordinary people being manipulated by those in power, political leaders, wealthy elites, and anyone who profits from making you feel small, powerless, and not smart enough to make a difference. It's not just that the Scarecrow thinks he's dumb, it's that he was told he was dumb by people who had something to gain from his self-doubt. Because if you think you have no brain, you're much easier to control.
So let me make a quick comment on that. Isn't that what they're doing to everybody? They keep you locked in stocks and in the bank. They want you in Bitcoin. They don't want you in gold and silver. So they're keeping you ignorant about gold and silver. And they're saying, oh, just look at the stock market. It's 42, 43,000. It's such bullshit. It's not real. They print the money to zero, but do they say the money has no value? So they're really keeping you stupid and controlling you. And that's what government likes to do. That's why I'm here. I'm here to open the light and tell you that's bullshit. And I try to tell you what the reality is, which is why we buy gold and silver. It's not what the government wants, and they can't control you in gold and silver, so they don't want you in it. So very much how we see what's really going on here, right? So there's a very good, I can't think of the word, correlation. A very good correlation of this is real, and this is what they're doing, and that's the hidden things of the movie. So anyway, back to the show.
In the 1890s, America was in the middle of an industrial boom. But for factory workers, it was less boom and more grind.
This is the Tin Man.
Long shifts, brutal conditions, and non-stop repetitive labor. Workers weren't seen as people. They were seen as cogs in a machine, replaceable, interchangeable, and heartless tools of production. Some say that's exactly who the Tin Man represents, the working class, dehumanized by industry and stripped of their humanity. Trapped in a system where you're just another body, another bolt, another cog. Cold, metal, heartless. But it goes deeper than that. There's a second theory, and it has everything to do with the gold versus silver currency debate of the 1890s. At the time, there was a heated argument over whether America's money should be backed by gold or silver.
I've lost a couple by
Oh,
accident.
Jesus
a couple of
Christ.
them need to be pulled. And now the rest of them right now.
Silver. Silver was supposed to support the working class, while gold favored the wealthy banking elite. A struggle that echoes in the story of a man who lost himself piece by piece. The Tin Man wasn't always made of metal. Once upon a time, he was just a man, a simple woodcutter named Nick Chopper. He lived in Oz and was in love with a Munchkin girl. But their love caught the attention of someone who wasn't happy about it. Her boss. And her boss just so happened to be the Wicked Witch of the East. The witch didn't want her finding love, happiness, or freedom. So she cast a curse. Every time he swung his axe, it betrayed him. First, his arm was chopped, then a leg, then another arm, another leg, until every single limb was gone. And with each loss, something strange happened. He didn't even feel it. A local tinsmith rebuilt him. His entire body was slowly replaced with tin. But something was missing. He lost his heart. She wanted him to become hollow, empty, and heartless. The Tin Man's journey isn't just about finding a heart. It's about getting back something he never realized he'd lost. He doesn't even remember it happened. Think about that. To go from being a human being to a hollow machine, slowly, piece by piece, without even realizing it's happening. Lions are supposed to be kings, the top of the food chain. But in The Wizard of Oz, we meet a lion who's not bold. not brave, and definitely not kingly. Instead, he's begging for courage. The cowardly lion might be more than just a nervous feline. He's believed to be a symbol for a real person, William Jennings Bryan, a U.S. presidential candidate who was loud on the campaign trail but didn't always deliver. Bryan was a populist leader. He fought for the working class and railed against the banking elite. He was known for his big speeches, his passion, and his legendary roar against corruption. But his critics said that's all he was, a roar. They called him all bark, no bite, which is the cowardly lion's character. The lion story is more than just a reference to a politician. It's an allegory for something bigger. Lions are supposed to be the strongest, most fearsome creatures in the wild. They're called the kings of beasts. But here's a lion that's afraid of everything. What does that say about power? It's symbolic of how people in power, politicians, CEOs, and the elites often appear strong on the outside, but are absolutely terrified on the inside. They rule with fear, but they are often the ones who are most afraid. It's a reminder that the ones who appear powerful might just be the most scared of all. When you think of a witch, this is probably who comes to mind. Green skin, pointy hat, broomstick, and that laugh. But none of that was in the original story. And her wickedness. Well, that might just depend on who's telling the story. In Baum's original book, she's not green at all. She's a sorceress with a powerful eye. She commands flying creatures using a magical golden cap and rules over the Winkies, who serve her out of fear. One theory suggests that the West in Wicked Witch of the West wasn't just a random location. It may have been a nod to the American Wild West itself, a lawless, dangerous, and unpredictable place where survival meant controlling what you could. In this world, you don't survive by being nice. You survive by being feared. When Dorothy arrives, it's not a misunderstanding. It's a threat. Dorothy's house crushes her sister, and then she takes the witch's most valuable possession, her magical shoes. From this perspective, Dorothy isn't just a visitor, she's an invader. The Wicked Witch of the West isn't simply wicked. She's ruthless. When you strip away the modern retellings, she's not a misunderstood figure burdened by the world. She's a tyrant. She hoards power, demanding absolute control over everything. Since she had already exhausted her control over the monkeys with a golden cap, she sought a new way to gain more power, and that's where Dorothy's silver shoes come into play. She's desperate for a new source of power.
She's George
She's ready
Soros.
because she chooses to be. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the wonderful Wizard of Oz, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps out the channel. The wizard isn't just a fairy tale trope. It's a reflection of real life. The wizard is often seen as a symbol of corrupt political leaders, the kind who rely on spectacle to appear powerful. But pull back the curtain, and you'll find there's not much substance behind the show. Political figures have always used spectacle to appear more powerful than they are. You're not looking at them. You're looking at the image they've created for themselves. But it goes even deeper than that. See, L. Frank Baum, the man who wrote The Wizard of Oz, knew a thing or two about building illusions. Before he became an author, he was a department store window designer. His job was to build displays to trick people into buying things. Shiny, glamorous, expensive, but it was all for show. Baum knew that people are drawn to spectacle. Shiny displays make people think something is more valuable than it is. That sounds a lot like the Wizard in Oz. A man with no power who uses illusions to make you believe he's in charge. The wizard isn't just some random trickster. He's a symbol of how most power in life is just an illusion.
Hey, Bobby.
He controls an entire kingdom with nothing but fog machines, bright lights.
Does it look
and a
like Mark
microphone.
McGuire? No.
It's not real power, but it works.
This is the
Public
Wizard
figures
of Oz
still
at a
stand on
different
stages,
view.
promising change. Brands use slick ads
Enjoy
to
it.
make
You'll like
products
it.
look better than they are. It's the same old trick, just a different generation. Power isn't about control. It's about perception. And the Wizard of Oz just showed us how long this has been happening. When Dorothy exposes him, he doesn't lose his power. He loses the illusion of his power. It's not his magic that's shattered. It's his image. When people in power are exposed, we see the exact same thing happen. Scandals, leaked footage, whistleblowers. It all comes down to this moment, pulling back the curtain. And suddenly, we realize they're not as powerful as they seemed. They never were. The wizard isn't a man of power. He's a man of manipulation. He's a symbol of how the few elite trick the masses into believing they're in control. But behind the curtain, it's just a man, pulling levers, hoping nobody notices.
Need to restock your pantry? With Kroger, you'll get the same great prices and quality online.
When Dorothy and her crew arrive at the Emerald City, they're handed green-tinted glasses. The gatekeeper says it's to protect their eyes from the city's brilliance. The Emerald City isn't actually green. It's just a normal city. But because everyone is wearing green-tinted glasses, it looks green to them. People think the Emerald City is rich and wealthy because emeralds are green and expensive. But it's not made of emeralds at all. The only reason people think it's wealthy is because they've been tricked into believing it is. The wizard tells people to wear the green glasses, and nobody questions it. They just put them on. So where did Baum get the idea for the Emerald City? There's two big theories for this. First is the Chicago's 1893 World's Fair. Baum lived in Chicago at the time, and the city had this incredible display called the White City. It was a collection of massive, dazzling white buildings that looked like marble and stone. The other theory is Washington, D.C. Some people believe the Emerald City represents America's capital city, a place of political power where the people in charge control the way the masses see the world. The color green is also a symbol for money, wealth, and greed. Just like the concept of follow the money, the Emerald City is a place where greed and power are always connected. And that's the bigger message of the Wizard of Oz. It's all an illusion. The glasses only work if you never take them off. We all remember the scene where Dorothy, Toto, and the group walk through a field of bright red poppies. But it's a trap. Poppies are associated with sleep, dream states, and altered consciousness due to their connection to opium-based medicines. Back when Baum wrote The Wizard of Oz in 1900, the world was in the middle of a public health crisis linked to it. Opium-based medicines were being used everywhere, even in children's cough syrups. So, when Baum wrote about a field of beautiful flowers that makes people pass out and lose track of their objective, it wasn't just a random idea. It was also a symbol of distraction and stagnation. Comfort is nice, but it won't get you where you need to go. If you're chasing your dreams, don't fall asleep in the poppy field. It's warm, it's cozy, and it feels safe. But if you stay too long, you may never want to leave. The Yellow Brick Road might just be the most famous road in American history. But have you ever wondered why it's yellow? Some say it's a nod to the gold standard debate of the 1890s, where gold was seen as the only way to back US currency, while others wanted to introduce silver as a form of currency. And walking this path is Dorothy, a girl with silver shoes on a road made of gold. From the moment Dorothy steps onto that path, she's following the road someone else told her to follow, not a path that she chose. But where does it lead? Not to riches, not to wealth. It leads to a man behind a curtain. The Yellow Brick Road isn't really there to help Dorothy. It's there to control where she goes. She never questions where it's leading. She just blindly follows because someone told her to. This is exactly how people have been taught to live their lives for centuries. Follow the path, stay in line, go to school, get a job, work hard. But what happens when you get to the end of that path and there's nothing there? No wealth, no power, just a guy behind a curtain pretending to be in charge. If everyone's walking the same road, nobody's choosing their own path. And that's the whole point. It's about controlling the masses, keeping them in line on one clear path so that they never even think to step off of it.
All right, I got a comment. So we wonder why it's hard to tell people to get out of the market, get out of the banks, and go into gold, because they're all hypnotized into believing they got to take the path. And the path is you go to school, you get your degree, you go to work, and then you invest, you make money, you put it in the stock market or the bank. That's your choice. And nobody questions it. Oh, that's my path. What we're doing is questioning it, which now is perfectly clear after watching this. We're questioning the status quo of put your money in the bank, invest in stocks and real estate trust and annuities, and never questioning about getting out of paper, right? That's what everybody's doing. So that's why when I tell somebody to get into gold, they look at me crazy, because they're conditioned to follow the path and not question it. So they're not questioning I should be in the stock market, or I should have my money in the bank or an annuity or now Bitcoin. They don't question it. They don't question about getting out of the dollar that's worthless. They don't question the government has ruined it. They just accept it as the path. And then for us, where I'm saying, no, you want to be in gold and silver because the dollar's worthless, it's very hard for you to not to question the path. No, my money's in a 401k and I got money in the bank, and I'm not going to take the money out of the bank and put it in my safe. And that is why we struggle. And Bobby, you're with your daughters. That's why we struggle to get people out of the hypnotic suggestion of follow the path. What do? You go to school, then you go to college, then you get a job, and then you make money, and you buy a house, and you save the money, or you start investing the money. I'll buy Amazon, and and this is the problem. You don't understand the money's worthless, because that's not the path. The path is follow government. Government would never lie to you. Just stay on the path to the man behind the curtain, which is some idiot in the Federal Reserve, JP Morgan or George Soros. And that's the point. And that hit me like a ton of bricks yesterday, going, that's why people stay in the stock market, because they're scared to get off the path. We have matrixed it. We have broken the glass, and we are off the path, and we are on freedom. We are on gold and silver, and that is the freedom that people don't realize that's what they want. And I just had that revelation. It was like, it was so clear to me. Because when you go to somebody and say, get out of the market, they look at you like you're nuts, because they don't understand why they're in the market. They're following the path. And the path is green with, oh, you'll make money in the stock market, or you'll make money on Bitcoin, or you'll make money in a real estate trust, or you'll get money in annuity. Oh, you don't want to be in gold. And that's the path. And that's getting off the path, is getting into the gold and silver, which they don't want you to go on that path. As he said, Dorothy did not choose the path. She was told to follow the path. And that's the difference. So she was told, just follow the yellow brick road. You'll go to the Emerald City or Gotham City or where, and then you'll find the wizard. He'll get you home. And so she did it without thinking. And man, that hit me. Yes, that's why people won't get out of the stock market or out of the banks, because that's the path that they're supposed to be on without questioning it. We question everything here, right? There's fires in LA. I'm going, well, who started it? What's the real reason? Because now all the houses are burnt down. Was that done on purpose? You question everything, because you don't want to be on that path. You want to be free, and you want to understand what's really going on, because you're only being told what the wizard's telling you. In this case, the wizard's George Soros. Now Trump's the wizard, and do you just blindly believe Trump? Well, I'll cut your taxes or Social Security. I'll end the war in Ukraine. Okay. Are you the cowardly lion? Are you telling us all this, but is there any bite to it? You didn't do it the first time. Oh, I'm going to end the war in the Ukraine in one day. Yeah, sure you are. Maybe in 6 months, maybe if we're lucky. So keep in mind, is he the cowardly lion? Most of the politicians are cowardly lions paid off by the rich elite who have money and get them to do what they want. So they're really puppets. All right. I thought that was an extremely thing. Yes, Bobby. Hello. Yeah, well, I wanted to get this done. I don't know how late the pool is open. And my video got fucked last night because it only did half. And then I lost internet, and somehow the first half got in, but this part didn't go. So I wanted to redo it, and I wanted to do it now. I was excited to do it because I got my revelation of the road. Lamar goes down again. We know that. So does golf. It was very, very easy. And no, we don't have a Mark McGuire this week. He had the Three Stooges on, Scheckman, and a couple other idiots who didn't say anything. I'll show you my comments on Mark McGuire. It's basically saying, what about the bricks and what about the $3,000 gold? Why aren't we bringing that up? I don't want to hear these guys tell me that I need gold and they don't even understand it. So anyway, this is a beautiful revelation that I've discovered on this Wizard of Oz, where everybody's programmed to follow the road without question, follow the government. The government's right. If you disagree, it's a conspiracy. Oh, how can you get into gold and silver? Oh, no, you want to be on the dollar. Yeah, in the beginning of the thing, are they going on the gold standard or the silver standard? Either way, they're winning because they're not having the dollar being printed. So how that got fucked up, that was the central bank came in because the banks got so fucked up they needed a central bank to bail them out. That's why the central bank came in. It was the bankers who, again, fucked up making bad loans, because that's how a bank works. It's taking the deposits and loaning it out and getting more interest and paying you half of what they get in. But when the people default on it, which is what happened in 1929, when the Tariff Act came in, the farmers couldn't sell their goods, couldn't pay the banks back, and the banks all collapsed. All right, back to this.
Behold,
Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max.
this is so cool.
It's just the beginning. In the original book, Munchkins are just people who are slightly shorter. No wild candy cane outfits.
Oh.
No lollipop guild. None of that. In the book, they're normal townsfolk wearing simple, everyday clothes. They're farmers and they're workers. The Munchkins aren't singing and dancing immediately. After all, they've spent years living under the threat of the Wicked Witch of the East, where one wrong move could lead to punishment. Fear like that doesn't go away overnight. But as it slowly dawns on them that the witch is truly gone, and their caution gives way to joy, they sing, they dance, they celebrate their newfound freedom like citizens overthrowing a tyrant. It feels like a revolution, like citizens breaking free from a monarchy or a corrupt system of control. But even after the witch is gone, the Munchkins don't suddenly become independent. They don't set off on their own. They stay right where they are. They don't follow Dorothy down the yellow brick road. They just watch her go. They think they're free, but are trapped in the same little world they've always known because their beliefs are instilled in them. This isn't freedom. It's stagnation. The illusion of freedom. Glinda, the good witch of the South, not the North like the movie, plays a very different role in the original story. Unlike in the 1939 film, Glinda doesn't watch over Dorothy from the start. In fact, Dorothy doesn't meet Glinda until the end of her journey, after she's defeated the Wicked Witch of the West. Glinda resides in the South and serves as a wise mentor, revealing crucial knowledge only when Dorothy asks for help. She explains that Dorothy's silver shoes, which she's worn since she arrived in Oz, had the power to take her home all along. Glinda is seen as a powerful symbol of leadership and patience, someone who understands that sometimes the journey itself is the most important part of the story. Dorothy Louise Gage, L. Frank Baum's niece, was born in 1898. Tragically, she passed away just 5 months later from a severe illness. Her death shattered Frank's family. So, when it came time to create a central character for his most ambitious story, he named her after the little girl they lost, Dorothy. It's a touching tribute that gives Dorothy's journey a whole new layer of meaning. She's not just a character on a quest. She's a symbol of lost innocence and the hope that no matter how lost you feel, you can always find your way home. Some people think it was more than just a tribute to a lost niece. After all, L. Frank Baum was known for blending personal experiences with his creative work. So while Dorothy Gage gave the name its emotional weight, many believe that Dorothy's actual character was inspired by another woman in Baum's life, his mother-in-law. Baum's mother-in-law wasn't just any woman. She was Matilda Jocelyn Gage, a feminist icon who fought for women's rights and didn't hold back. Her influence shaped Dorothy's character, turning her from a damsel in distress into a take-charge leader. Unlike the characters she traveled with, Dorothy never questioned her own courage, heart, or brains. And that was no coincidence. Dorothy isn't handed success. She has to claim it. She faces fear, doubt, and danger, but she never loses sight of her goal, getting home. This is classic hero's journey storytelling. The thing she's searching for was inside her all along. She didn't need a wizard, a witch, or even magic shoes. She had everything she needed the whole time. When Dorothy clicks her heels and says, "There's no place like home," she's doing more than just going back to Kansas. She's acknowledging that home isn't just a place. It's a mindset. It's a realization that we often have the power to change our lives without waiting for someone else to grant it to us. Dorothy had to realize her own power. We all want someone to give us the answer, but sometimes we have to walk the difficult path ourselves. That's what Dorothy does. She's not looking for power or fame. She just wants to go home. But when she gets home, she's not the same person she was before. That's why Dorothy matters. She's not a damsel. She's not a sidekick. She's the leader of her own story. And maybe she's a little bit of all of us, too. Thank you for joining me for this tale that has truly stood the test of time. Until next time, stay mystical.
Boy, what a good explanations I thought there. They really tell us about ourselves that we don't even realize. We'll watch the movie totally different next time we watch it. But that's exactly like you want something, you got to go do it. Bobby wanted to be a ball player. He worked at it and practiced it, and it wasn't given to him. And he was a ball player. And I'm in finance because I determined that that's what my strengths are, my skills are. I picked football because I'm very talented at, and economics. I learned it, and now I'm realizing what I've learned. And I think that's the point. You just keep going with it, and you don't let other people dictate to you. So you don't buy stocks because everybody else does. You have to have a reason. And that's what I give you in economics is the reason we're buying gold and silver. So you understand it. It's your choice, but I'm opening up your eyes. I'm saying, wait a minute, this is worthless. We don't want to be in this because the people in charge are printing it to death. That's what you got to realize. So now here comes Trump, and what's he going to do? He can't do anything. This is going to zero regardless. If I was the president, I would buy up as much gold as I can and dump this and have a gold backed currency and make gold 50,000 an ounce to pay off the debt. But that's me because I understand it. I didn't follow the path. However, everybody in government are all corrupt because they take the as payouts. And so they keep printing the money because it's in the best interest to get more money, because they don't understand if you keep printing the money, it's worthless. This is the thing. This is like going forward on fourth down and not getting it. You lose the game, right? You've got to understand that. So that's the real problem. And people don't understand, but people are scared to not follow the yellow brick road and follow the path that they're supposed to follow. Oh, wait, I went to college. I got married. I bought a house. I have some kids. Oh, that's the path. And then I got money. Oh, wait, I lost my job because there's a recession because I didn't know that they printed this to death. And that's what's going to happen to a lot of people right now in the whole world is they can't get off the path. And this is every country. So they're in their dollars. So the people in Europe are holding on to this, except for the Germans, who are smart enough to know I need gold. And that's where the shift's going to happen and where we're going to make a lot of money on our gold and silver as the people start getting off the path and start realizing they've been duped. They've been made off. The dollar's worthless. And once people start realizing that the dollars are being printed are worthless and they get off the path, the other path they go to is gold and silver. And when they realize that's the path to be on, then they're going to realize, oh shit, there's no supply. It's all gone. It's all sold. I can't get it for 2,000 an ounce. I mean, look what's happening. I mean, what, 3 years ago when I started talking economics, it was 1,700. Now it's 2,700. You can't buy the gold. That's why I was telling you then to buy it. It was 1,700. It's gone up $1,000, and it hasn't even started yet. Wait till it goes up to 3,500 to 5,000. Wait till silver hits 500 an ounce. So right now, you don't believe it because you're staying on the path. Well, silver's $30. It's not going to go. Well, because it's not market forces. It's derivative. It's the banks, the greedy, evil banks who are holding the price down for the image of you don't want to be in gold and silver. You want to be in stocks and Bitcoin and real estate trusts and annuities and in the bank. That's where you want to be. And so they paint that image for you. Just like the Wizard of Oz had that powerful image, but he wasn't doing it. It was just an image. It wasn't real. And that's what's happening. The stocks aren't real. So when I watch that Bloomberg board every day at work, people walk in, I go, this is a fantasy. Nothing's real that I'm seeing on Bloomberg. The stocks, the bonds, the other countries, inflation's going down. None of it's real. It's all illusion. And that's really what you need to understand, which is what I try to do, which is what me and Bobby have a hard time explaining to other people, that this is a illusion and you need to be in gold and silver. Bobby gets it because he's open-minded. But that's the problem with it, right? And I have a good video on high IQ people, which I think most of our people are. But basically, that's the problem. And all right, 6 Habits of a Night. This is 57 seconds. This is the best thing you'll ever watch in your life.
Here are 6 habits of people with high IQ. 1. They talk to themselves. Engaging in internal dialogue fosters clarity of thought and facilitates effective problem solving. 2. They have a great sense of humor. Embracing humor not only cultivates resilience, but also stimulates creativity. 3. They enjoy solitude. Finding solace in solitude offers the opportunity for deep introspection and self-discovery, allowing individuals better to understand themselves and their place in the world. 4. They are open-minded. Cultivating openness to new ideas fosters a fertile ground for problem-solving and innovation. 5. They have high observation skills. Sharpening observational skills enhances decision-making abilities by providing a deeper understanding of the world. 6. They create solutions, not sorrows. Focusing on solutions rather than dwelling on complaints empowers individuals to take proactive steps toward positive change. 6 rules to become dangerous.
So, isn't that us? I talk to myself all the time, but I'm thinking. So I'm just thinking out loud. It's the open-mindedness that we are. I'm open-minded to, how do you think I pick football games? I got to be open-minded to, oh, here comes Daniels. Here comes Penix. Look at Bo Nick. Oh, we got to bet on these guys. Oh, Lamar. Everybody says he's the greatest MVP, but he chokes every time in the playoffs in golf. And so my open-mindedness says, no, these are not the guys you want to bet on. The other guys are. And so that's what we are. We are very open-minded. We think to ourselves, we problem solve, which is the whole thing about betting, and the whole thing about gold is problem solving. The problem is, as I say in the Titanic, the problem is you hit an iceberg and the water's running in the boat. And the solution is to get off into the lifeboat. And now it's in the dollar. The problem is the dollar's printed to death. And they keep printing and printing. Is the water going in? And the solution is the lifeboat, get into gold and silver. You can parallel those two things, and that's the point. That's what high IQ people have. I have like a 160 IQ. I don't know. I took a test. Whatever. I'm relatively commonsensical and very, very good at problem solving and thinking, and I'm very observant. That's what I'm doing at the pool. I'm looking at everybody and I'm just observing them. Or if I'm at a grocery store, Kroger's, or at a restaurant, I'm observing everything. At work, I observe people. That's a very good gift I have. All right, so let's see. Let's go to a few weekends. Here's a few more for you, Bobby.
Here are 5 ways to destroy your enemy without throwing a single punch. Stoic wisdom. 1. Stay calm under pressure. Nothing frustrates an enemy more than your unshakable composure. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Master your reactions." 2. Outgrow them. Focus on self-improvement until their insults and schemes become irrelevant. Rise so high they can't reach you. 3. Be disciplined in silence. Let them waste energy on petty attacks while you conserve yours. Seneca reminds us, to speak little is to be disciplined. 4. Kill them with indifference. The opposite of hate isn't love, it's apathy. Don't give them the satisfaction of your attention. 5. Turn their negativity into fuel. Every insult, every setback, use it to sharpen your resolve. Epictetus taught, what stands in the way becomes the way. Here are 4 secrets that should never be shared, according to Stoic wisdom. 1. Your next move. Epictetus warned, don't announce your intentions to the world before acting. Your plans are your strength. If you speak too soon, you give others the chance to undermine them. 2. Your struggles. Marcus Aurelius said, keep yourself simple, pure, unpretentious. Don't seek sympathy. Strength is in how you handle your challenges, not in sharing them for attention. 3. Your fears. As Seneca put it, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Fears are yours to overcome. Don't give them power by speaking them into existence. 4. Your self-discipline. True discipline isn't flaunted. Actions, not words, said Epictetus. Your habits and routine should be silent but powerful. Let your results speak for themselves.
I want to meet this Epictetus guy. He's the man. We went through the war the last weekend, 21 principles of the art of war. Most of it is about knowing your strength, knowing the enemy's weakness, or a football team or coworkers or girlfriends or anything. Use a lot of distractions and what's the thing where they think you're doing something and you're not. I can't think of the word, but do a lot of distractions. Like what we did in World War II on D-Day, where we made them think we were landing in Calais, but we were landing in Normandy, right? So it was the distraction or whatever, where you think you're doing one thing and that it's really big in poker, where you think, I'm going to make you think I'm weak and I'm strong, or I'm going to make you think I'm strong and I'm weak, and I'm going to check and not check and confuse you so you really don't know what I'm doing. And that's a lot of the art of war. That's why I get upset watching a football game and they have nobody in the backfield. And you're like, dude, at least put a running back in there to make them think I might run the ball. Don't just put 5 receivers in there. That doesn't confuse them. They know what you're going to do. Now, I think Buffalo did it with Josh Allen yesterday. He was the running back and he ran, because I saw that. But that's generally, you're trying to confuse the opposition. You're trying to intimidate and influence, and the image that's what he means by the best way to win the war is not to fight it, is to get the enemy scared of you that they don't want to fight. Or in poker, you just beat the guys up that they don't want to call you, or you just keep pounding them and they get confused by you. I do that all the time. But I know Art of War, and I know I want to confuse you, and I know you're watching me. So I might check one hand with the full house, and I might bet one hand with the full house. And now you don't know. You can't say, well, geez, every time he checks, he's got a full house. Every time he bets, he's bluffing. Sometimes I bet, sometimes I don't. Good luck figuring out what time this is. And I'm reading you to know what I can do or can't do. Let's see. I got to meet this Epictetus guy in Seneca. Let's see. This is a really good, well, let's see if there's some egons I can do, but real quickly, India's currency crisis is spreading. They've been bankrupt for a while. In the UK, under pressure, interest rates, the pound's crashing. And so you want to look for when's the US going out and when's gold going up. Well, this is the thing. India is crashing. The UK, well, the only out is gold. That's the lifeboat. So they're going to start buying it if they haven't already. I know India's been buying it. In the UK, I don't know. They've gotten rid of most of their gold, the central bank, but the guys like Alligator and Mark McGuire, I'm sure, are buying it. What else do we got? We got foreclosures exploding. So all the banks are in big trouble because they've lent out their money, as I say. So I give them $1,000 and they loan out $20,000. And you want to buy a house, come to the bank. They give you the money because nobody can afford a house. So they give you the money. It's a loan. And then you're supposed to pay it back over the 30 years or sell it and then give them the money. Which is a great racket considering they didn't have the money in the first place. It was all made up, right? They had my 10 grand, but they loaned out 100. Where'd you get the 100 from? Out of thin air. So you're going to get paid back 150,000 because you're going to get the 100 plus the interest. So let's say you get 150,000 of money you made out of nothing. This is the scam. However, when the foreclosures explode, and people can't afford to make the payments, the banks don't get the 150,000 that they're counting on. So they're not going to get, they're maybe going to get 25, 30,000, and all the rest they got to write off. And that's the problem with the banks. They're the only way they get money in is to loan it out or invest it on their own in Apple or Amazon, right? That's what the banks are doing. They're investing it in the stock market like a bunch of idiots. So they can't loan it out. They should be loaning it out, but that's how a bank works. If they can't loan their money, they have to invest in the market. And if the market crashes and the housing market crashes and the commercial real estate crashes where they can't get their inflows in, right? Yeah, I owe you, it's a $500,000 house and I owe you $3,000 a month. Sorry, I got a default. I'm not working because of this recession and all that. And that's what happens. And then the banks, they steal your money and they don't let you in your safety deposit box. And then they go out stealing all the deposits because they can't afford to pay you back. And that's what happens when you've got the foreclosures happening. A lot of people lost a lot of money in 2008. Not yours truly. Not a chance. Hey, Alex, I did a really good thing on the Wizard of Oz that I'd like you to watch. Otherwise, we did talk about football in the beginning. Jared Goff choking, as you know. Lamar choking, as we knew before the game started he was going to choke. And I think Washington getting 11 is a joke. I might put it with the under in tonight's game with Washington getting 11.5. How are you going to stop Daniels? They already beat Philadelphia, so I don't see how they're going to stop them. They might win the game because Barkley goes off, but not by 11.5. And then the other game's a toss-up. KC Buffalo. I give me the dog, give me the over, and just enjoy it. Be a late score. I will around later and watch at work right now, preparing for the local freeze. Everything shuts down here in the south when there's an ice. Yeah, you guys need to know like about salt trucks and stuff like that. I'll show you the video. Here's a few Egon ones.
If you have enough money, but you don't have to have a lot, you can save an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver every month, whatever you can afford, because it is all about preserving generational wealth. Give a little bit to your children or your grandchildren, just a little bit, and that's part of our team here. Imagine if people done that in Venezuela 20 years ago. They would have been absolutely super rich today, but most people didn't. I knew that we were going to go into gold, but of course, we'd had a period since 1980. Gold went from $35 in 1971, when the gold window was closed by Nixon, to $850 in 1980, and then it went down for 20 years to $250. And of course, all the central banks were selling at the bottom. Best sign ever, of course. We thought the bottom was there, and it was on the way up. We decided to go in and spend big amounts of money on gold. That's ourselves plus the people we were advising at the time. And that was 2002, and so we bought gold at $300. Since then, we really never looked back.
Week alone, I've won 8.
So a little bit more. Here's a good one.
The EFT, Mr. Bloom has 2 minutes.
Commissioner, Mr. President, I rise again, I'm afraid, to make the same old hoary speech that I've been making
British
here
guy.
for several years, and that is, it is my opinion that you do not really understand the concept of banking. All the banks are broke. Bank Santander, Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, they're all broke. And why are they broke? It isn't an act of God. It isn't some sort of tsunami. They're broke because we have a system called fractional reserve banking, which means that banks can lend money that they don't actually have. It's a criminal scandal, and it's been going on for too long. To add to that problem, you have moral hazard, a very significant moral hazard from the political sphere. And most of the problem starts in politics and central banks, which are part of the same political system. We have counterfeiting, sometimes called quantitative easing, but counterfeiting by any other name. The artificial printing of money, which if any ordinary person did, they'd go to prison for a very long time. And yet governments and central banks do it all the time. Central banks repress the amount of interest that rates are, so we don't have the real cost of money. And yet we blame the real retail banks for manipulating LIBOR. The sheer effrontery of this is quite astonishing. It's central banks that manipulate interest rates, Commissioner. And plus, underneath all this, we talk loosely, in a rather cavalier fashion, do we not, about deposit guarantees. So when banks go broke through their own incompetence and chicanery, the taxpayer picks up the tab. It's theft from the taxpayer. And until we start sending bankers, and I include central bankers and politicians, to prison for this outrage, it will continue.
Yeah, but they're all corrupt and they're all controlled by the banks, so they're not going to do anything. Let me get you to the Wizard of Oz, Alex. BRICS just added Nigeria. This is the Wizard of Oz one, Alex. Outstanding. The Wicked Truth of the Wizard of Oz, Mystic Manor, where they go into the characters and explain how they were in real life. And it was outstanding. And it basically, I got out of it was everybody takes this path, the yellow brick road, because they don't know any different. And that's what they're told to do. Follow the yellow brick road. So they all go on it. It's not because it's gold. It just gets you to the Emerald City where you wear green glasses so you can't see it's not emerald. And the wizard's behind the curtain doing absolutely nothing. And that's basically Washington. So that's what you have. So it was definitely outstanding. Alligator, $100 silver, 2 weeks left. That was 2 weeks ago. It's still at $30. Until COMEX blows up, it won't be there. Here's one on Europe will die soon. The top 10 European countries that are going out, it's Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Romania, Poland, Hungary. I think I got 7 or 8 of them. But it's Germany, Italy, France, Spain, the big 4, and then Romania, Hungary, and Poland. Basically, they're saying that they're going out. These countries will die soon. Move out now. I mean, that's the message, and it's because of the inflation. So if Europe's going, Japan's gone, and India's going, and the UK's going, like, who are we going to do business with, right? They're all gone, and we're next. We might be last, but we're not getting away from it. We will be gone. Okay, Alex, have a good day. I'd be surprised if Notre Dame won, but I think it'll be low scoring. That's how I looked at it. But have a good day. And yeah, check out, I just showed you the Wizard of Oz. Here's Egon on the banking
system is rotten. First of all, the Swiss banking system is about 5 times Swiss GDP. Much too big for the country. Today, you might not have seen it, the Swiss National Bank, which is the biggest and most speculative hedge fund in the world. They just came out with a loss of 142 billion Swiss francs, and that's more than Swiss GDP. They've been a speculative hedge fund for years now. They're selling Swiss francs and holding euros and dollars primarily, and then they're holding a big portfolio in US stocks, and they're holding gold also, but only 1,000 tons, which is not very much. And they're not totally owned by the state. You know, the cantons own half of them. So this is another disaster and proves that even the Swiss banking system, which was the most safe in the world until they adapted the US methods of banking with high leverage, speculation, derivatives, etc. We'll probably come on to the derivatives. That is what is going to make this system collapse.
Doctor's shock. Could this simple 10-second ritual...
So you can see what the derivatives are doing to gold, right? They're printing gold, they're leveraging gold, and they're saying, "Oh, gold's only worth $2,700 when it's worth $27,000 at least." I came up with a figure of 180,000 for ounce of gold based on the fact that gold was 35 an ounce, and now it's 2,700. So when you divided it up, or no, what I did was I said the inflation, the dollar's lost 99% of its value. And so I said it was $100 is now worth $1. So if I reversed it and I said, well, if it's $35 times the 99%, it came out to like $180,000 an ounce for gold. If the dollar lost 99%, that means gold should have went up 99%. And that was my point. Obviously, it's not 180,000, but that's the idea. If it's not the gold going up, the dollar going down, as the alligator wants to say all the time, and he's wrong. It's not done by the free market, but the dollar's not going down anymore. So then it comes into, don't waste your time with the alligator. This week it was a terrible show. I watched this one on similar to the Wizard of Oz, the Little Mermaid. It was very very hard to watch. I mean, that was just crazy. Where's Mark McGuire and the boys? Here's this one. The U.S. is literally running out of money. How can it run out of money? It just keeps printing it, right? So it can't run out of money. What happens is the money runs out of value. You got a printing press. You're not running out of money. You're just, the money you're printing is worthless. All right, so here's Mark McGuire and the Three Stooges. All right, so I want to show you.
Demanding higher interest because.
Here's my comment. How about what's happening with BRICS gold-backed currency, gold 3,000, US dollar going to zero? Why don't you bring this up? That's why we watch, not to see the Three Stooges who are clueless, the professor. And then I say, seriously, these three again, what a waste of time. And it is. Do not watch this. You will learn nothing. They're just repeating, well, the supply of gold's down, and we don't know when COMEX will go, and they don't understand BRICS. They don't even talk about it. It's just absolutely a terrible show. I don't know why. I keep bitching at him. Why do you have guests on the show? Because we're really looking and watching Mark McGuire to see. It's like you're watching me for football picks or gold or whatever. If I had a guest on and we don't talk about it, then why would you watch? So why are we watching? We're watching Mark McGuire to hear about what's going on with BRICS. Why is gold not 3,000 an ounce? It's coming. It's coming. You said October when the BRICS had the meeting, they were going gold-backed currency. Now it's already going. We're in January and it's still not gold-backed currency. So what's going on, Mark? Give me some clarifications because you're fucking lying to us. So why have these three idiots on? You had them on in December, and they said the same thing, which was basically useless. None of them are economists, and I just don't know why you're wasting your time with them. All right, so that is that. Let's check gold right now. 2707. So that's what it was before. Silver's up to 3061. Again, there's no movement. Curious what Trump will have no bearing on gold. It'll go up if he just keeps printing and he doesn't end the war. There's no reason for it. The fact Trump's president, he can do very little. They're not going to eliminate any offices. This whole Elon Musk thing is a joke. What you going to do? Go into the Department of Health and of Education and say, "Oh yeah, you're gone." Yeah, it sounds good, but you can't. You're not going to be able to do it, right? Because that's who runs the school. So it's not going to happen. Let's see. So I was reading my notes, and there was something I wanted to. My precious. So I was reading, how did the North finance the war in the Civil War versus how did the North finance it and how did the South finance it? Probably my Daria, yes. She always gets me when I'm teaching. Just a second. So here's what Daria says. I'm on my way home from work. The other day I was buying fish. The prices increased almost 2 times in 3 months. Prices for other products are also rising. So, but that's what's happening here. Our prices keep going up, but they didn't double. They went up a little bit, which is what she's saying. I gave her money. I'm glad you bought some food last week before they announced the prices going up January 2nd. This is St. Petersburg, Russia, right? So they got the inflation everywhere in the world. So she's got to pay more for like her food. So I gave her more money and said, buy it now at these lower prices and just put it in the freezer or buy canned goods or things that will stay. And so she did that. So now she's like, prices increased almost 2 times in 3 months. The prices increased. So I don't know. That means it's doubled or it went up from $9 to 10 and now 11. Probably that. But that's why we own gold. Why are the prices going up? Well, in Russia, they got to pay for the war. And if you keep printing this, it loses value. So prices don't really go up. The value of this drops. So you need more of these to buy your fish, your pop, your Oreos, your liquor, your cigarettes, whatever you're buying, whatever goods you're buying, it needs more dollars to buy it because the dollar's losing value. And that's the part that you have to get off the yellow brick road to understand. You're on the yellow brick road, so you don't question it. You just go, oh, prices are up. It must be Oreos and Coca-Cola raising their prices. No, it's the dollar losing its value, but you have to get off the yellow brick road and think and understand what's happening, which is what they don't want you to do. They don't want you to realize they're printing the money and it's worthless. They want you to blame Oreos and chocolate chips and Coca-Cola that the prices are going up. That's what they want to do. And that's where the problems arise. But if you're like us, we get off the path and then we start looking around and then we start asking questions and we start thinking and we're open-minded and we go, no, they're printing the money. That's the problem. They keep printing the money. We don't have a war, but we keep giving all this money to the Ukraine, which then gives it back to the defense contractors. So they're washing the money out that way. But that's the point. We are asking, we are awake. We're not on the path. We're not on the yellow brick road. We're going, wait a minute. No, you're printing the money. The money's losing value. That's why we're buying gold and silver, even though you don't want us to buy gold and silver. And therefore we are on we're on our own buying gold and silver without you telling us. We don't need you to tell us what to do. I explain the game, and the game is this has no value, and what you must do is find something with value. Now, you can buy a Rolex or the Mantle card, which will never lose its value. It'll just get changed from dollars to gold-backed currency. The only way you survive is to have gold-backed currency, because you must have something that will not that will keep the value of the dollar. Because we're not backed by gold, the dollar since 1971 has never had a value because it's paper. And that's the Ponzi scheme. It's paper. You think $100 bill is worth the $100 because you can go to the grocery store and buy $100 worth of food. Problem is, in 1971, you could fill up 2 carts with the $100. Now you can't even fill up 1 cart with the $100. You fill up your cart the way you used to in the 70s, it's probably a $500 bill. Everything I buy is $3.99. The pita bread's $3.99. Tuna is, is $2 for the little can. If I buy the bigger can, it's almost $5. Good luck buying Oreos or Cheerios. They're $5-6 a thing. My dark chocolate's $3.59 for one. So I mean, it's the value of the dollar dropping, and that's why we run to gold. And that's what I'm scared about is, will there still be gold available? Because as people start getting off the path and questioning what the fuck's going on, or that the dollar goes out, the answer is you buy gold and silver. And so, will the gold and silver still be there to buy, and at what price? And this is why I know what's going to happen. And that's why I tell you to get into it before the price jumps and before there's no supply. And you go to the store and you say, oh, he's got silver and it's still $30. So I'm fine. That isn't going to last. And here's Russia with problems. I went to the store, my broccoli's $2.99 now for a bunch. Cauliflower $3.99, honeydew $5, cantaloupe $4. These are fruits and veggies. These aren't, so everything's now $4 or $5 to buy. It's slowly inching up. And that's why what gold does is keep the value. My gold's gone up also. So we're playing that game. My gold's gone from 1,700 to 2,700. That's keeping pace with the value of the dollar dropping and the food. So if I paid 1,700 and I go sell it for 2,800, I take the 2,800 and now instead of 1,700, I got 2,800 to buy the food. And so I'm fine. That's how you win, because with the gold and silver, that price will go up as this price keeps going down, and everything's priced in this. So it takes more dollars to buy all the food, let's say, or the utilities or whatever. But that's what gold does. It counters it. So yes, we're losing value in this, but we're gaining value in the gold and silver. And as long as you can trade it for gold and silver, I mean, I swear I went Friday and I bought an ounce and a tenth of an ounce of gold, and I'm still dancing. I'm like, are you still taking dollars? She says, yeah. And I'm like, thank you, God, because there's going to be a time he's not going to take dollars because they are not worth anything. I would not take dollars for gold. Right now, I would never sell my silver for 30 an ounce, and I would never sell my gold at 2,800 an ounce unless it was an emergency or I really needed the money. But think about what I did Friday. I had $3,000 in garbage, monopoly money, and I gave it to the guy, and he gave me an ounce and a tenth of gold. So I Rumpelstiltskin and traded my dollars in for gold. That's what I did. That's the point. It's just a trade. I didn't spend anything. When I do my bank, my spreadsheet, I keep my finances on a spreadsheet. When I do it, I go, well, I took money out of the bank account, but wait, I added to gold, and it's a wash because I I just traded dollars for gold, and yet the gold keeps going up and the dollar keeps going down, but they're not telling you the dollar's going down. That's the wizard behind the curtain, not telling you that, oh, yeah, by the way, the dollar is losing value. No, no, no. Well, we got dollars, we're fine. And the problem is, so when they come out with the replacement, CBDCs are not the answer because they're not gold backed. Bitcoin's not the answer. It's not even money, and it's not gold backed. The only thing is gold that will save everything, gold and silver, because you can't print it. And it's as more people want it, the only way they're going to buy it is at a higher price because you're not going to be able to find it. And that's what I'm warning. So Luke's friend who has $4 million in his 401k, he'll start realizing it's worth 2 million and then 1 million and say, oh shit, I need gold. He's not going to find it. And he's not going to find it at 2,800. And that's where he's missing the boat by waiting, and you can't wait. It's like waiting to ask a girl out, and then somebody else asks her out, and you're like, fuck, why did I wait? Same thing. All right, how did the North finance the war? Greenbacks, fiat money. Lincoln issued greenbacks, two types of money floating around. Greenbacks traded at a discount, and gold. Amazing how Lincoln used gold. The National Bank account, monopoly on the issuance of currencies. Reserves could be bonds, greenback, or gold. They outlawed gold. They outlawed the state banknotes, taxed the banknotes. They had to create a monopoly. That's why they got rid of the other money, gold and banknotes. This led to fiduciary inflation and the trade cycle. This is 1867 or whatever. Start of the large government projects were the Transcontinental Railroad from the east and west to east, the Pacific, Union Pacific and Central Pacific. Government highly subsidized the railroad. The first scandal, credit mobilizers, they laid the track and received land contract company owned by Congress. Naughty boys. Period after the war led to corruption. You mean there wasn't corruption before the war? Civil War. Entrepreneurial business were market forces or political entrepreneur. They get favors from government. And that's where we're at now. Favors for government. The lobbyists pay the government, and then they do what the lobbyists want. Not what's best for the country or for us. It's what's best for the lobbyists so they can make money. Here, the Democrats were actually pro-gold and low tariff, and the Republicans were anti-gold and high tariffs. Funny how everything changes. 1879, U.S. is back on the gold standard. Low taxes, little government. The country exploded with economic growth. Funny how every time they go on the gold standard, you got economic growth. Happened in 1945 after World War II. Everything exploded. From 1879 to 1914, U.S. was a debtor nation because of expansion. It was the greatest time in the history of the world from 1879. From 1879 to 1914, everybody was on the gold standard, and you never had so much growth. The railroads, the boats, the engines, everything, electricity came in, Henry Ford came, everything came in then because they had money and they could build these things. J.P. Morgan, presidents of New York. He was an investment banker, imported capital from Europe, railroad, steel, I can't read the other, from England, prime political entrepreneur. He was a lobbyist. Now we know where it came from. Expert and building cartels, which guaranteed profits and limited competition, which is what he's doing now with the money. The bank should never be in charge of the money. They should always be separate. He got government to regulate and limit competition, price fixing. He wanted a central bank. Rockefeller was a business entrepreneur, a cost cutter, fought Morgan with antitrust laws. Rothschild controlled the Russian oil wells, and he ran the president. Rockefeller had the presidents from Ohio, Morgan from New York. They put him in power so they would do favors for him. But this was interesting. Rothschild controlled the Russian oil wells. I didn't know Russia. I guess they do have oil. Rothschild controlled it. Interesting tidbit we figured out. World War I don't want to get into. J.P. Morgan, our favorite hero, responsible for the U.S. into the war, 1914, recession, crash, U.S. chief supplier to both sides, agriculture booms, copper minerals, manufacturers, war material. The motherfucker gave money to both. He gave weapons to both sides in World War I. Morgan propaganda. He owned 25 newspapers. So nothing's really changed from Morgan. It's the same bullshit. Morgan buys all war materials for France and England. Gold influx from England and France because that's how they paid for them. Securities are also used to buy war materials. Morgan liquidates. Britain sells stocks, private loans through Morgan. So Morgan starts playing Madoff at that point. 1916, the Colonial House, Morgan's friend, Vatican has peace plan, Britons reject the offer. 1917, Wilson puts U.S. into World War I, U.S. and England side, U.S. tricked into war by J.P. Morgan, of course. And we're now off the gold standard in 1917. Russia, Lenin leads the communist revolution. 1916, the Kerensky regime, communist wins the revolution, 1917 to 1989. Scary. 1918, Germany gets peace, Treaty of Versailles, Britain's blockade, wins the war. So you can see how everything's kind of created. The Russian Revolution in 19... What happened in 1914? The central bank. And this all they printed, and it sucks. And that's why the country started going down in 1914. Yeah. Let's see. Germany's hyperinflation, 1924, the Dawes Plan by American bankers lent Germany gold to go on the gold standard to collect on the debt. They adopt free enterprise sound currency. Germany borrows money back from the U.S. 1924 to 1928, boom in Germany. Germany must have free trade. House of Cards built on free credit. 1924, new era, government ability to interfere in the economy. No more fear of recession or depression because of the Fed. New Deal, 1924. Government intervention, deliberate move for inflation by bank credit expansion. Age of intervention, when the government intervenes in the economy, which is bad. Laissez-faire, leave us alone, keep your hands out of it. 1922, 24, 27, the increase in the money supply to save Britain. 1927 to 1929, boom in the stock prices. So it was caused by the inflation or printing the money supply. There was more money available, so the economies were growing. However, it was a house of cards. And then when you did the stupid Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, which made everything more expensive, so you went over the market, right? What do I teach you about the market? So for ribs, the market's $30. If you want to start charging 48, you're fucked. And that's what you got to understand your markets. Just my Daria. Okay, so that's what's happening. So Germany, to pay for the World War I, the Treaty of Versailles says, Germany, you got to pay, which made no sense because there was 7 or 8 countries in the war, in World War One, Serbia and France and England and Russia. How does Germany end up paying for it? They don't have the money, so they print money to pay for it. And as you know, the more you print, the less they're worth. That created the hyperinflation because they printed money to pay the debt. Oh, yeah, what are we doing now? Yeah, we own $36 trillion and we're printing money to pay the debt. Yeah, well, let's see how that goes. So you have history that says we're fucked. So just in case you don't understand what's happening, we're fucked. And that's what's going to happen. Anyway, I think that's good. I am going to go to the pool and have some lunch. Happy Martin Luther King Day, I guess. Not quite sure why it's a holiday. I mean, we can honor, we can honor people, but I don't really get it. Like the banks are closed today. Trump's getting inaugurated today, so we'll look more into that. I'll have to go on YouTube, but and I'll leave you with this. In 1821 to 1914, the age of classical liberalism, England's the number one power because they adopt Adam Smith views. They outlawed slavery, adopted free trade, rule of law, gold standard, laissez-faire, and low taxes. It's funny how every country that does that becomes the number one power, but something changes when they are the number one power to leave all that alone. All of a sudden, corruption creeps in. You're off the gold standard. You raise your taxes because a lot of it is they start getting votes and they start giving away things that they don't have the money to pay for. So they need more money. So they get off the gold standard because it's limited. And then they print more. And then they go, oh, well, we need to raise taxes and we need to go on fiat money. And it ends up always collapsing. That's why it always collapses, because of that. So I love when I watch some of these idiots and they go, Ray Dalio, well, I'm studying these patterns and about how countries go up and go down and come out. What the fuck? It takes 5 minutes. They inflate, they raise taxes, they get off the gold standard, and as soon as they do that, the countries go out. Why do you need to study this? That's all it is. It's very easy. All right. Anyway, have a good day, Bobby, Alex. Take care. Watch the Wizard of Oz thing. It was great, and there's a few others that I'm going to watch. We've seen Egon Stoic today for you, Bobby. And Stoic's about staying calm. Art of War is about deception. I think that was the word I was looking for. It's all the art of deception. Making your opponent think you're going to do this and you're going to do that. The Lions do that a lot with Detroit. They run these reverses and, these kind of trick plays. It's very deceptive, which is good, but they're hiding that they can't do certain things. Their defense is atrocious. Yes, there's some injuries, but they only had one good player, Christensen, anyway. And he got hurt, so that was it. And so you can't build your team on one good player and he gets hurt. Now you're fucked. I mean, that's bad. That's a bad GM. That's bad. The coach needs to make a system. Not I have one good player who gets all these sacks, and that's what we're going to rely on. That's the problem. Anyway, tonight, Ohio State 20, Notre Dame 17. I think it's a low-scoring game. We'll see what happens. And then next week, Washington, Philly, and KC, Buffalo, which should be good games. So I'm off today. I'll be back to work the rest of the week. So I'm not sure if I'll do a class tomorrow because usually I'm tired the first day of the week. So maybe we'll see how I am. I've been up late watching these stuff, so I'm kind of dreading tomorrow. And I got to get up early, what I'll do. But I think right now I'm going to run to the pool, and I might go get Boneyard. I might go get barbecue. It's a good day to do it. I hope they're open. I don't think restaurants close on Martin. I'd be surprised they close on Martin Luther King Day. Anyway, have a good day, everybody. www.teaserking.com. And there you go. You got the picks for next week. So anyway, have a good day and enjoy. All right. Take care, everybody.